2.5 engine, and the complaint is the check engine light is on. He went to a parts store, they scanned it for him and said it had an evap leak. We scanned it and we have code P0455, evap large leak. So we're going to approach this and show you how to find a large leak. Now there's various ways to find evap problems, and there's some very expensive machines out there to help you do that, and those machines are fine. But I'm an old guy, I've got an old machine, so I'm going to show you an old way of doing it. The first thing to understand is the computer is capable of telling the difference between a small leak and a large leak, and it's reporting a code of a large leak, so that's what we're going to look for. Now if you did have a small leak, it might be a different story. But if you're looking for a large leak, it shouldn't be that hard to find. Now the first thing I usually do is just do a visual inspection of everything. You know, the evap system is supposed to be sucking the fumes from the fuel tank up to the engine area. So I usually get down on a creeper underneath the vehicle and look at all the connections and follow the hoses all the way back and see if you see anything just visual, just a cut hose or a split hose or something off or anything like that. I did that, didn't see anything that looked like a problem. So we're going to smoke this thing, see if we can't flush out our problem. On this vehicle, most of your evap stuff is right here, and here's your test port. Now if you have the type of smoke machine that will attach right in here, there's a little Schrader valve in here, then I'd say go ahead and do that. Mine doesn't do that, so I'm going to leave this cap on there. Now this is a two-sided valve. When I take this off, both sides of this system are right here. So what I'm going to do is smoke one side, look for the leak, and then smoke the other side and look for the leak. The smoke machine comes with this type of a nipple on there, but you can see that it actually goes in too far. So I'm going to pull that off and just stick up another piece of smaller diameter hose in there. And I'm going to smoke the bottom side first. Now since I'm going into the bottom hose, you can see the bottom hose, you follow it back and it goes into the intake, so that's going to be the vacuum source. Now understanding the system, you know that it's got to get its vacuum from the intake. This plastic line comes in there and goes in through this rubber elbow. There's another port right here that's coming out of the same intake port, so both of them are suspect. Now when you inject the smoke, you want it to fill the system, and you want the throttle plate to be open. So I've wedged a screwdriver in here to open up the throttle plate so the whole system will fill with smoke. That's the smoke coming out of the smoke machine, so that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to put this in the bottom hose, turn on the smoke machine. Now I'd suggest you get yourself a very bright flashlight. It makes the smoke show up a whole lot easier. We just turn it on and let it run for a few minutes. It's got to fill the whole system with smoke. Usually when you know you're filling the intake, a good thing to do is look over at the air breather. When you start seeing smoke coming out of there, you know that your system's getting full of smoke. Okay, once it's coming out of the breather, your system is full of smoke, so now you can start looking. Now sometimes it makes a difference the kind of light you're looking at it. We've got just a regular old light bulb shining down here so you can see the parts we're looking at, but those aren't going to show the smoke up very well, so I'm going to turn that off, and I'm using a very bright flashlight. Now if you look right here, now if you look at this hose, the smoke is actually coming in through this elbow, but it's filling up that throttle plate, and then it's got these cracks in here. Now if I just leave that like it is and smoke it, I don't see the smoke coming out. But if I move this hose just a little bit, is when you'll see the smoke coming out. So when I flex this hose a little bit, you can see the smoke come out. Now my experience tells me that this is not really a large leak, especially since it's on the secondary side, that the smoke's going in here and coming out there, and the fact that I have to flex this to get that to leak. It's truly a leak, but I'd consider that more like a small leak. So I don't think I found my large leak yet, but I am going to have to fix this hose here because that is truly a small leak. Now I want to keep looking, so I'm going to smoke the other side. So take this out. You can see there's still some leftover smoke in there. I put it in here. Now we're going to smoke this side. And if you follow this tube back, you see that it goes into the charcoal canister. So we're going to be smoking this back side of it at this time. Okay, now we're going to apply the smoke. It's going to go through here. Now the first thing you're going to notice, it's actually leaking out the vent valve. That's normal. Sometimes, if we don't find the smoke leak, you'd have to actually get this vent valve to close. But I'm not going to do that yet because I'm looking for a large leak. If we look around here, you can see it down in there. Okay. I'm going to ignore this smoke coming out of the vent valve right now. But if I look right down here, I can see a split in the hose and there's smoke coming out. Now as I follow that hose back, I can see a little split in the hose and there's smoke coming out of that split. If you want to know what a large evap leak looks like, this is it. So what we've got here in this situation, the computer set a code for a large leak because we had a large leak. We found that. It also had a very small leak. So if we wouldn't have smoked it this way and looked on both sides, we may have found that large leak and fixed it, released the vehicle, may have come back the check engine light again on, this time for a small leak. So as the computer was doing its evap monitoring, it didn't set a code for the small leak because the large leak was covering it up. Now if I would have smoked all of that and not found either one of those leaks, then the next step would have been to go in and actually close the vent valve and see if the vent valve is leaking. But at this point I'm going to replace the hose that has the large leak, the hose that has the small leak, go back and re-smoke everything, and I think we'll be good. So when you're dealing with an evap problem, the first thing is to understand how the system works so that you know what you're going to be looking for. Then go gather your evidence and let the evidence point you to the problem.